Welcome to Off Label, the podcast where pharma gets personal, unpredictable, and occasionally pyrotechnic. Today's guest is someone who's redefining what a pharma conference looks and feels like. Forget the beige ballrooms and lukewarm coffee. This is fireworks, guitars, and strategy with swagger. Dario Safaric is the founder and CEO of the legendary Next Pharma Summit, what some now call the Coachella of Pharma. And for the first time, he's taking it down under. That's right, Next Pharma is coming to Sydney, and in true rockstar fashion, Dario's bringing the full tour energy with him. We talked about why he chose Australia, what makes this summit different, and why omni-channel might just be the music genre that pharma keeps playing wrong. Strap in, here's our conversation. Dario, welcome to Off Label, mate. It's a pleasure to have you here. How you doing today?
Very good, Steve. Pleasure also having me as well and having this discussion with you today. So fantastic.
Yeah, no, we're exceptionally excited for a number of reasons, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But before we get going, just for the audience's sake, we'd like to do a little bit of an introduction about our guests here on Off Label. And we were last episode, we were talking to someone who had the earliest event in medical affairs. Thus, we kind of turned him the godfather of medical affairs events. Dario, I've been to a few of your events. There's rock and roll music. There's fireworks. So I think it's only fair that we refer to you as the rockstar of pharma events. How does that sound? Does that sit okay with you? Are you all right if I put that one out there?
Well, 100%. I'm a big rock fan, and obviously would like also to have that sort of energy on a pharma event as well.
Indeed. Well, I can say that you do. You replicate that energy pretty well, particularly with your kickoff. You do the opening speech, and it's for those who haven't been there, get there, and you'll know what I'm talking about. We're talking, of course, about the Next Pharma Summit, what I like to refer to on the rock and roll theme as the Coachella of Pharma events. It's arguably, look, Dario, credit to you, it's one of the most admired and best reviewed conferences in Europe, and certainly having attended one, I can attest to that. But the really exciting news for anyone that recognises my accent, you'll understand why, is that you've decided to plant this the Coachella of Pharma events in Sydney, in our own backyard here in Australia. So first of all, thank you. Second of all, what possessed you?
Yeah, thanks, Steve, for the very nice question, which obviously we received so many times in the recent weeks and months. Well, basically, we always had like a very loyal audience and attendee rate from Australia, but obviously it's also very hard to justify that you fly over to Europe, to Dubrovnik, Vienna, or Brussels, what we do in terms of our events, and to justify like a 5K investment at your company, right? So the thinking was, and obviously also convinced, right? So thank you for that as well. But the thinking was, I mean, if Australians can't come to Next in Europe, let's Next come to Australia, right? And yeah,
love it.
I still can't believe it, but here we are.
Yeah, we're so excited. And you're right. It's having attended. There was, I think you yelled out last time. All the Australians in the room say hi or say
exactly.
Yay, and it was quite deafening. I was looking around, didn't realise I had so many countrymen in the one room. There is a big expat community, of course, living in Europe, working across pharma, and yeah, they've spread the good word, and the anticipation here is building pretty significantly as well, just on the back of the reviews that it's been getting. So we talk about Next and why and how it is a little bit different. What our listeners, Dario, are always interested in hearing about from event organisers in particular is trying to understand your why. So when I say that, I mean, why did you start Next? And what led you to the moment when you decided to take the plunge?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get that question also quite often, right? But
I bet.
I really attended all of those major pharma events in Europe for so many years, I think more than 10 or 12 years or so. And what really got me stuck is they're all so boring, right? I mean, same faces, same content. There's no moving the needle impact. And I really wanted to change that because I went to some other industry events, like, I don't know, Web Summit, the Next Web, or some American conferences, and you really see the different type of energy, experience, audio, video equipment. And I think if you really package everything nicely and try to deliver experience to attendees and to speakers and to sponsors at the end of the day, definitely have a very nice chemistry and vibe, and that's why I would say Next is different at the end of the day. Or how you said, maybe I can also refer to that. We really try to make it like a rock and roll concert for pharma, which is, I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes a boring industry.
It can be, just owing to the nature of some of the the elements involved. But yeah, there's room for personality, and there are personalities in the industry, and a lot of them take the stage at your events and continue to come back. So yeah, it is a different event. It does bring an element of theatre that people very much enjoy and respond to and react to. When we talk about Australia and getting back to where we are now, I think we're just grateful that there's any event here, to be honest. So the fact that it is one that introduces those different, more exciting elements is particularly exciting. But when we talk about it for the Australian listeners or anybody that's overseas who's thinking, hey, I've always wanted to go to Australia, why not tie it into a Next conference and play some games with the tax man? What can the delegates expect from this event come October?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, basically, in the first place, like I said, a very unique vibe and experience around cross-functionality in pharma. And I personally think that having, like a open-minded mindset on an event is super important, that you really also have like a chemistry where you are able to speak with your peers at a pharma event. And we really try to also deliver on that as well. But on top of this, obviously, everything what has to do with cross-functionality in the pharma market in Australia, from commercial, medical, marketing, patient engagement, market access, but also I would say like a flavor of international pharma trends and international pharma insights, which we would also like to bring into Australia. Not saying that you're not following the trends in the Australian market. That's why we also have like 10% of our speakers coming outside Australia.
Yeah,
we'll also like speak from global perspective as well.
That's a really good point that you make, because the agenda has just been released and we can see those elements, and there's international speakers coming over to talk, perhaps present some of those insights. But aware you've also pulled together a steering committee in Australia with panel of local experts who are commenting and informing the design of the agenda as well, to ensure that it's localized and relevant to the local market. That's something new that you've started doing?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we never had a steering committee. Why? Because, I mean, in Europe, you always do actually the whole stuff for 300 million people. And I mean, not only for 300 million people, but you also have attendees from US, Asia, Australia who are coming to our events here in Europe. But Australia is different because we don't expect almost zero attendees coming outside Australia, right? Because it is designed for the Australian market. And we are not the experts for the Australian pharma industry. So that's why I think it was really critical to have like a steering committee, to listen to the experts, to listen what are the local needs, and at the end of the day to package this into such powerful agenda.
It's really clever thinking, and I'm sure really appreciated as well by the local market to play a role in co-creation. I mean, co-creation's a big theme in the industry in general these days, particularly developing resources for patients, involving them in that co-creation piece is proving a very successful place. So great to see it can be replicated in the events area as well. So who should be coming is one thing I noticed looking at the agenda is that it is stacked with managing directors and the top brass at these companies. There's obviously a lot of enthusiasm from that level to come in, but from my understanding, the events are really positioned to benefit those of the power workers and doers in the industry, the ones designing the strategy and implementing at the same time, that sort of management. Is there a particular function or level of seniority that this event is best targeted to?
Well, basically anyone who is interested in cross-functionality and collaboration, and mainly from perspective, like I said, commercial, medical, digital marketing and tech in pharma, and even beyond that. But on the other side, also everyone who is interested to see what's next in the Australian pharma market, right? So that's why it's at the end of the day next. So of course, everyone's welcome. But like I said, from this functionality level, those are the functions which should attend, and we should co-create the new landscape.
That's great. The more the merrier, and the better cross-functionality and breaking down of the infamous silos, the better for everybody, really, isn't it? So
sorry to interrupt, Steve, but maybe just say we never had such hype for any event so far, to be honest, which is crazy, because when we started the whole thing, I mean, the thinking was, okay, let's try. I mean, we can't lose much, right? But now when we see the hype, when we see the enthusiasm, and I'm confident that we will reach at least 300 to 400 people, I think, that it will be a serious next event and a proper event like we are doing it here in Europe.
There's certainly a lot of talk on the word on the street is next at the moment. That's I can attest to that. So is this a one-off? Are you just going to bring the next show to town and then leave us high and dry, or is there a bit of a long-term play here? You're looking at maybe replicating if this is a success and expanding into the region, or just where's your thoughts right now at in terms of the future?
Well, we're already speaking about 26, right? So basically, we already start negotiations for 26 next Australia, and it's definitely a marathon. It's a long term. It's not a one shot, and almost everything what we do, we always look into long. Based on the hype and interest, I think it is really a good decision, and that people will definitely appreciate and support Next Australia because, like I said, there's nothing happening in Australia from this cross-functionality level. You have like syndicated events, siloed event for medical, for commercial, medtech, doesn't matter. So we really want to do something differently. And as some of you already know, you actually had a cross-functional event till 2019. And after COVID, it just disappeared. So there is a need, there is a desire, and that's why we are here.
Absolutely. I think your instincts will serve you well. The locals, if you're listening, I'm sure you're as pleased to hear it as what I am. Now, righto, before we go, one thing that your team at Next are notorious for is putting delegates on the spot, shoving a camera in their face and asking them something about Next and sum it up in one word, or what do you think and how do you feel, and these types of things. And while we put our brains into gear and try and figure out what we're going to say while they're asking the question. So I have to return the favour in kind, of course. I wouldn't be a good host if I didn't. So I've got a couple of quick questions for you, Dario, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on these ones. First off, for the listeners, can you describe the Sydney Summit, what it will be, in 3 words?
In 3 words, let's say energy, insightful, and inspiring.
Wonderful. I thought you were going to throw in crocodiles or sharks or something like that a lot of people overseas are terrified of, but yeah, they won't be at the event.
I isolate that, I mean, I'm afraid of those dangerous animals, and I try to think about them. So
don't worry about the spiders. The snakes ate them all.
There are no spiders in Australia.
You'll be okay. We'll take good care of the next team while you're down. What would surprise people most about what goes on behind the scenes at the Next Pharma Summit?
Behind the scenes, a lot of work, but I really have to say we have an amazing team. So basically, it's believe it or not, but it's never stress. It's really like chill and basically somehow even relaxed and I think that this just shows that we also love what we do at the end of the day, right? And when you love what you do, there is no space for stress or some other disadvantages or bad emotions and feelings.
Yeah. You get it done. I can say that I can relate to that. Just moderating on some panels, which I've been fortunate enough invited to do in the past. Last minute changes to slides and things like that. We forward them on, and everyone's doing it to them. Your team are just like, "Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I go, you sure? Are you sure you've got this? It's really important." Yeah, and lo and behold, it always comes through. So you do have a good team, a good culture there. So well done on that.
Let's don't do that in Australia, dear speakers.
No. We'll make sure we'll try and replicate that same thing over here. So, what's one mistake that Pharma keeps on making in 2025?
Omnichannel.
There we go. Probably, I'm sure you have a lot of people nodding, listening to this on their in their headphones. Now, the last one. Let's have a little bit of fun. We spoke about the rockstar element. If you were to compare yourself to one rockstar or a band in particular, who would it be?
That's a tough one. I mean, I really like ACDC, so they are Australians,
Bit of thunder.
But if I have to decide, I don't know, maybe something in between David Bowie and Mick Jagger.
There we go. Very nice, and a hybrid. I like the approach.
Exactly.
Dario, that's fantastic. And that's going to be a wrap today on Off Label. So if you're in pharma and you've been waiting for something bold, relevant and globally connected to hit the Australian shores, this might just be it. Dario, thank you very much, mate. Looking forward to seeing you in Sydney.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Bye for now.